Hi, I'm Beth, and this is Identity Shift. Well, welcome back to episode 3 of my series on grief. And today I'm going to talk more about environment, the environment to grieve, and just existing through that painful season where there's a lot of emotion and a lot of physical reaction, and maybe not a lot of clarity up here. It is a common and natural part of grief, and it could be a really short season, could be a little bit longer, and usually that depends. Like I've said already a couple of times, everyone's unique, but usually it depends on what the loss is, the significance of the loss to you, and also your environment around you at the time. So if you're delaying and you're busy and you're distracted by other things that you're required to do, it's going to slow down your process of releasing those emotions. So nobody really wants to talk about this for very long. It's super uncomfortable, but I want to give you 4 keys to help you. And I also chose a passage out of Mark 4 about the disciples being in the boat during the storm. And I think it's a really great image of how it feels, that you're in a boat, even though you're experienced, you've been in life before, it's not new to you, this is something familiar, and then suddenly it's like the storm comes up and the waves are swamping the boat and you're completely terrified and you figure you're going to die, you're going to get overwhelmed. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Jesus got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. Mark 4:37-39. I have a few tips for you in this season that's very chaotic and emotional, and it can be overwhelming at times. You can just feel totally out of control, but it's only for a season, I promise. The first thing and the most important thing to do is to try to keep the amount of change under control. That means that things that you don't have to change, don't change them. It's not the time to change absolutely everything. And there's always that temptation of, I just need to escape. I need to make huge changes so that I can feel so much better. But it isn't necessarily going to make you feel better. It's also really important to try to have predictable self-care routines as part of your daily life. So that might mean, I'm tired, I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to make sure I go for a walk every day. I'm going to eat healthy, even though all I want to do is eat ice cream out of a tub. I'm going to, you fill in the blank. You might need to sleep with that old stuffed toy from when you were 6 years old. You might decide to get a dog. There's things that you can do to just increase the endorphins in your body and also calm yourself. Because there are times when you need to say, I have to stop with this intense emotion right now. I'm going to do something to soothe myself. And intense emotion can also be joy. It can be anger, it can be sadness, but you want to have those seasons of just soothing yourself. And that might also mean changing who you're hanging out with. You may need to edit your social media. Who are you following and how is that making you feel? Are you addicted to the news? Maybe you need to stop watching the news for a while. And if you have people in your life who you typically support more than they support you, then you may want to set some boundaries around that relationship for a season as well. It's a natural process, especially if you've lost a partner or someone close to you, that some friendships will be edited naturally anyway, because you change in that process. And certainly if you have friends at work and your job has changed, then those friendships are going to change. And it's a significant thing to lose multiple relationships. There's multiple losses sometimes. So you have to work that through. But it's also really important to own that process and to step away from things and environments that are not constructive for you. The next thing is, when do I start dealing with all the stuff? So if you lost your job and you have boxes and boxes of stuff you had in your office, I would put them away for a little while. But there might be a day when you feel, you know what? I'm going to look at that today. I'm feeling strong, and go through it. But don't do that on a day when you're not feeling strong. It's the same with a loved one. If you've got a closet full of his clothes and you're just going to do the best you can. But it's really important that you do intentionally move forward. And when it gets to the point where you're opening up the cupboard and it's really bothering you seeing those clothes, that might be time. I held on to a bag of my husband's clothes that were the ones that had the most memory for me, that had the most meaning for me. And after about, I think 3 years after he died, somebody I knew made a quilt for me out of them. And I used to put it on my bed at certain times of year. I haven't put it on my bed for several years now, but it's still a very precious possession. And there were plenty of things like socks and underwear that I just didn't need, and I easily could throw those out without any emotion. But it does sometimes feel like you're editing that part of your life out if you move too quickly. So take your time. The last thing that I would recommend that you do is to plan ahead. There's people in your life, especially if you've experienced a loss of a person, who are really willing to help you. How can I help? What do you need? What can I do? Or they're staying in touch, making sure you're okay, checking in and asking how you are. And those people want to help you, but their lives are going to continue as they always have. And your life is going to continue going in another direction. But now is a good time for you to make a note of the things that you know you're going to need additional help with in the future when your current helpers are no longer able to help you. I was very fearful about that process of losing friends and losing helpers. It was something that made me very, very anxious. So I just want to encourage you that I did find my way around it. New friends, new helpers, and then I learned and navigated helping myself. I'm going to bless you today with a prayer. Lord, I thank you for each person who is watching, who's in a process of experiencing their loss with joy and with hope. I bless you with joy and hope because joy is your strength and hope builds your faith. And I bless you to know that Jesus is in the middle of the storm. No matter how chaotic it seems, he can still speak peace into it just by using his voice. So I bless you today to receive the presence of the Lord and to know his peace and to be courageous to express your emotions of grief. Amen. Bless you, and I'll see you next time.